Alright, so we have this old Ram with this flatbed, but the flatbed is a little bit funky and they want to go with a wood top, so I'm going to do everything they want for me to do to it. We're going to get the top a little lower, bring in the sides to match the body of the truck. So that is the project for today. Okay, so originally the plan was to take off the tread plate on the top so that we can replace it for wood, and that ended up kind of changing because we realized that, first of all, this is welded tons and tons on the underside, so it'd be really hard to get off of there. And another thing is that it's sandwiched between all of these, so it's actually bent here and sandwiched between them, which, even though we're cutting that all down, it's going to be a really pain to actually get this off. It's not just like a plate on top that we cut these welds out of and then it comes off. It's a little more complicated than that. So I took off this side panel here, and you can see what I'm talking about, how it is actually just a continuous piece of metal that's been folded down, and the tread plate ends here. So just changes the plan a little bit. I think I'm gonna have to get a hold of a torch cutter to really get into this stuff and cut it, because it's going to be a lot more metal cutting than a little grinder can do. While I was waiting to get access to a cutting torch, I cut the top part off and started on resizing it. It sits way above the roof of the truck, and I think it'll just look a lot better even with it, and that's what my client wants. Once that was done, I went over to my uncle's and used his cutting torch. Now, I've used a cutting torch like once in high school, so I had to kind of relearn it a little bit, but I think I did pretty well. It's a little interesting with the tread plate because it's thicker where the tread parts are, obviously. So, you know, I had to figure it out for sure, but I think I got there in the end. Once I returned home, I finished cutting off these side pieces and then preparing them to straighten them. Sweet, now that's ready to weld back together. But before we do that, I have a side project that I want to work on in this video. I want to make a sign to go above the door for my shop, and I'm going to weld on some text just like I did with the Cherokee axle. I thought that was a cool process, and I want to try a little bit more. Now that my design is plotted out, let's get back to the truck bed. Okay, I cleaned off all the weld boogery stuff that was on this from cutting it off of there, and now I have it all lined up and cleaned up to weld these together in a straight fashion this time. Well, I was a little bit worried about it, but I'd say that's pretty dang straight. The owners of this truck bed decided that they wanted to put the gas fill cap somewhere else, so I'm filling this hole here, and I'm cutting out the circle out of the same piece that we are going to use for the sign. Back on our sign project, I plotted out where my lines were going to go with tacks, because as soon as you start welding, the Sharpie marks are invisible. And then I laid in some beads. One of my beads got off the line, so I went to grind it down, and then my grinder started smoking. So something went wrong. So I decided to take this thing apart and investigate. Unfortunately, I couldn't really figure out what was wrong, so RIP to the grinder. Back on the truck bed project, I cut these sides down to size and prepared to get my sides back on. Since I'm only one person and I can't hold this big piece of metal, I took a strap and tied it to the roof of our shop, and this worked pretty well. I was pleasantly surprised. Once I was done with that, I just repeated the same thing on the other side of the bed. Right where I welded this bar, there was a bit of warpage and it was warped outward like this. So I attacked it back here instead of here. And then I took this ratchet strap and pulled it in. So now it looks nice and straight, and then I will finish my welds up here and everything like that. So, looks nice and straight. It's coming along, not too far off. So I'm really not happy with how this is turning out, but I think I know why it turned out this way. First of all, I was starting and stopping a lot because I really couldn't see very well where I was going. So I'm going to have to either find more light or find a new angle to look at it. And I think both will help. Also, I believe I was running too low of an amperage, which is why it's almost super raised from the material and almost even undercut, because it's really not penetrating into it enough. I know I want a nice skinny line, but I think if I go up in amperage by 1 but not up in wire speed, I should be able to keep a small line that actually penetrates the metal a little bit more and hopefully comes out a little cleaner. So now that I have a grinder that I borrowed from my buddy, I'm going to grind off a lot of this and start again. Okay, I did a little bit of experimenting with a higher amperage, and I do like it. You see how these stick onto the metal a little more and keep more consistent than something like this, where it's raised above. It's the same wire speed, just need a little bit more penetration into the metal. Just gets a little more sticky, a little less blobby. So marked out where I need to fix, and I've kept just enough of that to know where I'm going, and we're just gonna send it. The difference between this one and this one is just speed. I just took a little more time on this, got a little more raise out of the material. When I stopped, I also started a little bit away from where I ended and then came back and then kept going. And you know, once this cleans up, it'll be kind of hard to even notice that. And also, obviously, I got a little off my line here, but not too bad. I'll probably grind that down and redo it if the rest of them look this good, because now it doesn't match. Yeah, I'm definitely going to redo this one, because these are looking nice. My camera died in the middle of welding into creations. I have no idea when, because the entire video just didn't save for some reason. Usually it does if the camera dies, but I don't know what happened this time. So you'll get to see me weld in the workshop, but that's it. Alright, we got tons and tons of warpage from welding on the top of this plate, which I knew would happen, so I'm going to try to do my best to straighten that out now. Okay, that wasn't super effective, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut this where I was going to cut this, because I think it'll be a little easier once it's cut out. Alright, now that it's straight-ish, I'm going to clean up the edges and then worry about how we're going to hang this below this and how we're going to hang it above the door. After cleaning up the edges, I drilled some holes, took some thicker wire to tie the pieces together. And with that, I moved back over to the truck bed. Now that we have our basically chain linkages to hold these together, I'm going to rust this thing because I think it'll look really cool rusted and hide some of those cramps, but mainly because that was my idea from the start. So first I'm going to wipe it down with some muriatic acid, and then I'm going to take hydrogen peroxide and lay it in the sun, and it should rust up pretty dang quick. So let's get to that one. If you do this, make sure you wear gloves and eye protection to protect you from any splashback. Acid would be really nasty to get in your eyes. I was super amazed with how quickly it reacted and rusted. Super cool to me, never tried this before. Really happy with the results, and I'll definitely be using it again. And once that was done, all that was left was to hang it above the door. Some random dog just came up to the shop. Oh, hi, buddy. Hi. Whose are you? Whose dog are you? About to go over to the neighbors and be like, hey, is this your dog? Obviously he has a collar. He's somebody's. Hi, buddy. He's rambunctious. That was indeed the neighbor's dog. Got it handled. So, got the welds done and all cleaned up. They look great. The glamour shots you're about to see are right before I did the final welds, but it looks about the same anyways. Obviously you can tell it got dark on me, so I took a few shots before it got dark. But I hope you enjoy. Alright, now it's time to deliver this thing to Daniels and go work on the Okie Cherokee.